Do you think that this new concept of spirituality combined with science can help to bring peace on the planet in some way?
Actually, there is peace. Nature is peaceful. Everything is peaceful. Only man disturbs peace by his way of thinking. He thinks he should grab, he should possess, he should accumulate. But nature says everything belongs to nature. Nature gives you in plenty and abundance. Use whatever nature has to give to you and then share it with everybody. Sharing is a fundamental law of nature. The moment you go against this law, you'll always be peaceless. I need a car for travel. I don't need 2,000 cars. Suppose I say I have a car and use it. I have 2 cars, I have 10 cars and use them. But I'll show my pomp and power by possessing so many cars. That is being very illogical and unscientific. And that will lead to lack of peace. So nature says, I am doing everything for you. Nature digests the food in spite of my asking it. Nature puts me to sleep. Nature gives me rest. Nature gives me in abundance. But man, greedy man, wants to usurp the credit which belongs to nature and claim the credit for himself. The moment you do that, you become peaceless. So the Bhagavad Gita, the ancient scripture of India, says, you take from nature whatever you need and you have to give back to nature. The cycle, the cosmic cycle has to be completed. You take from somebody and don't return it in some way or the other, then you are being a thief. For being a thief, you will be punished. That's what nature does. The famous Greek idea of nemesis, for example. If we pry into nature and we try to steal what belongs to nature, then nature will come back with a nemesis and catch your throat from behind. Swami Vivekananda said, being unselfish is a joy which gives peace. Peace cannot come without joy, and there can't be any happiness without peace. If you follow your higher nature, which says you share, you give away, you be unselfish, you be altruistic, then there is a joy in it. But the selfish man says, no, I will keep it for myself. So you have 10 cars, why don't you give 1 car to somebody else who needs it? No, I want to keep it, but I may use it 10 years later. My great-grandson will need it. You would never know, you may never live to see that. But nature says, this car was given to you to share it with other people. So there is a concept what is known as trusteeship. Trusteeship says, all the things of nature belong to you. You are given this for some purpose, for some time, and you own it as a trustee. And you share it with everybody else. The whole of society is based upon this idea of sharing. If you don't do it, in some countries, for example, some ideologies like socialism and communism, it belongs to the state. You shall be given this. If you don't share it, with a gun we will make you share it. But if you share it gladly and willingly, there is a great joy in that. And the person who experiences this joy will know that nature's law is to share. Nowadays we talk about ecological balancing, we talk about global warming, we talk about how we disturb nature. The ecological balancing says every part of nature, every creature in nature, every particle of nature is there on purpose. For example, snakes are very harmful. Suppose you remove all the snakes, we will not have anything to eat because rats will eat away all our food grains. So snakes are there so that rats can be eaten away, but small snakes are eaten by bigger snakes. So there is an ecological balancing in nature which exactly follows an equilibrium. So if you can intelligently perceive the equilibrium of nature and follow the higher law which nature follows, then you will be at peace. If you follow the lower nature, which says grab, steal away from nature, then you will be punished. This is a scientific principle. Scientific principle is an equilibrium in nature. Nature follows a certain law, the law of conservation of energy, for example. Now take these laws, apply them to the human mind, apply them to the social situations. For example, there's a famous book by the Nobel laureate Prigozhin. The title of the book is Order Out of Chaos. So nature is a peculiar concept of order, And there is another concept of chaos. Suddenly something happens, you don't know why. The tsunami struck India, super cyclone, earthquake. And again it goes back to order. So he says, when from the equilibrium you stray far, far, far away, and you are approaching absolute chaos, suddenly a very small perturbation comes in, and you are immediately moved back to great order. Human consciousness introduces something in nature in which there is no predictability. Suppose you ask me, what would be the position of the moon 100 years later on this day? I can exactly give you, science can do that. A mosquito is sitting here, a fly is sitting there. Where will it go from here? No scientist can predict it. It will go from here, it can go here, it can go somewhere else. Because there is a fundamental principle of consciousness involved, and that makes life unpredictable. So there's a predictability of nature and science which has been replaced now by a certain uncertainty. There's a principle of uncertainty which is inbuilt into nature, and this uncertainty is a beauty which has to be reckoned with. And consciousness introduces an uncertainty, and there's a higher certainty which addresses this uncertainty. So if you have the scientific principles and apply them to our own individual lives and collective lives, man can get a lot of peace, because man will know there is a conservation principle which you can't violate. I steal away something, privately keep it in my pocket, and say nobody will notice me. The principle of conservation will catch you. The total thing is conserved. So certain fundamental principles of science could be applied to our daily lives, even without the concept of God or spirituality or religion at all. Then you will know your concept of God will undergo a tremendous change. Einstein said, my religion consists of a humble adoration of an illimitable intelligence which our feeble minds and intellects can comprehend only in the most primitive form. There is an illimitable intelligence which can't be comprehended by the human mind. So you discover newer and newer and newer laws, and human being is in the process of discovering further laws. So the entire knowledge of the whole humanity is a common property of whole humankind. You can't say, because Einstein was a Jew, relativity was a Jewish concept. It's a universal property of the whole of humanity. The entire knowledge of humankind, right from the beginning up to today, is a collective property of the whole of humanity. And there can't be any exclusive possession over it. Unfortunately, human beings divide. They have divided not only the oceans, they have divided space. This is my space, this is French space, this is Italian space, this is Indian space. You can't violate into it. Who said that? You artificially draw a distinction there and then say, this is mine and not yours. The moment you say this, immediately nature gives a knock on your head and say, behave.